after a climactic and memorable election, President Barack Obama delivered a resoundingly hopeful victory speech about the new path forward for American democracy at Lakeside Center in Chicago. Tonight, more than 200 years after a former colony won the right to determine its own destiny, the task of perfecting our union moves forward. It moves forward because of you. It moves forward because you have reaffirmed the spirit that has triumphed over war and depression, the spirit that has lifted this country from the depths of despair to the great heights of hope. The belief that while each of us will pursue our own individual ambitions, we are an American family, and we rise or fall together, as one nation and as one people. Tonight, in this election, you, the American people, have reminded us that while our road has been hard, while our journey has been long, we have picked ourselves up, we have fought our way back, and we know in our hearts that for the United States of America, the best is yet to come. I would like to thank every American who participated in this election, whether you voted for the very first time or waited in line for a very long time. By the way, we need to fix that. I know that political campaigns can sometimes seem small, even silly, and that provides plenty of fodder for the cynics who tell us that politics is nothing more than a contest of egos or the domain of special interests. But if you ever get the chance to talk to folks who turned out at our rallies and crowded along a rope line in a high school gym, or you saw folks working late at a campaign office in some tiny county far away from home, you will discover something else. You'll hear the determination in the voice of a young field organizer who's working his way through college and wants to make sure that every child has that same opportunity. You'll hear the deep patriotism in the voice of a military spouse who's working the phones late at night to make sure that no one who fights for this country ever has to fight for a job or a roof over their head when they come home. That is why we do this. That's what politics can be. It's not small, it's big, it's important. That is why elections matter. Democracy in a nation of 300 million can be noisy and messy and complicated. We all have our own opinions. Each of us has deeply held beliefs. And when we go through tough times, when we make big decisions as a country, it necessarily stirs up passions, stirs up controversy. That won't change after tonight, and it shouldn't. These arguments we have are a mark of our liberty, and we can never forget that as we speak, people in distant nations are risking their lives right now for the chance to argue about the issues that matter, the chance to cast their ballots like we did today. But despite all of our differences, most of us share certain hopes for America's future. We want our children to grow up in a country where they have access to the best schools and the best teachers. A country that lives up to its legacy as the global leader in technology and discovery and innovation, with all of the good jobs and new businesses that follow. We want to pass on a country that is safe and respected and admired around the world. A country defended by the most powerful military on earth and the best troops this world has ever known. But also a country that moves with confidence beyond this time of war to shape a peace that is built on the promise of freedom and dignity for every human being. That's the future we hope for. Now, we will disagree, sometimes fiercely, about how to get there. As it has for more than 2 centuries, progress will come in fits and starts. It is not always a smooth path. By itself, the recognition that we have common hopes and dreams won't end all our gridlock, or resolve all our problems, or substitute for the painstaking work of building consensus and making those difficult compromises needed to move this country forward. But that common bond is where we must begin. Our economy is recovering. A decade of war is ending, and a long campaign is now over. And whether I earned your vote or not, I have listened to you. I have learned from you. And you have made me a better president. And with your stories and your struggles, I return to the White House more determined and more inspired than ever about the work there is to do and the future that lies ahead. Tonight, despite all the hardships we've been through, despite all the frustrations of Washington, I have one vision for the future. You all voted for action, not politics as usual. You elected us to focus on your jobs, not ours. But that doesn't mean your work is done. The role of citizens in our democracy does not end with your vote. America has never been about what can be done for us, but about what can be done by us, together, through the hard and frustrating but necessary work of self-government. That's the principle we were founded on. Now, this country has more wealth than any nation, but that is not what makes us rich. We have the most powerful military in the world, but that is not what makes us strong. Our university, our culture, are all the envy of the world, but that is not what keeps the world coming to our shores. What makes America so exceptional are the bonds that hold together the most diverse nation on earth. The belief that this country only works when we accept certain obligations to one another and to future generations, so that the freedom which so many Americans have fought for and died for comes with responsibilities as well as rights. And among these are love and charity and duty and patriotism. That is what makes America so great. And tonight, despite these hardships we've been through, despite the frustration of Washington, I have never been more hopeful about America. I have never been more hopeful about the future. And I ask you to sustain that hope. I'm not talking about the kind of wishful idealism that allows us to just sit on the sidelines or shirk from a fight. I'm not talking about the kind of blind optimism that allows us to just ignore the enormity of the tasks in front of us or the roadblocks that lie ahead. I have always believed that hope is that stubborn thing inside us that insists, despite all the evidence to the contrary, that something better awaits us, so long as we have the courage to keep working, to keep reaching, to keep fighting. I believe that we can keep the promise of our founding, the idea that if you're willing to work hard, it doesn't matter who you are, or where you live, or what you look like. It doesn't matter if you're black, or white, or Hispanic, or Asian, or Native American, or young, or old, rich or poor, able, disabled, gay or straight. You can make it here in America if you are willing to try. I believe that we can seize this future together because we're not as divided as our politics suggest. We're not as cynical as the pundits believe. We are greater than the sum of our individual ambitions, and we remain more than a collection of red states and blue states. We are, and forever will be, the United States of America. And together with your help, and with God's grace, I believe that we can move this country forward, and remind the world just why it is that we live in the greatest nation on earth. Thank you, America. God bless you. God bless these United States.